Hi and welcome back to the Camel Connection podcast. My name is Tara from camelconnection.com, and if this is your first time here, welcome for the first time. We're so glad you're here to be learning about worms in camels and what you really need to know about them. They're pesky little things. We've got a lot to cover in this episode. So please stay tuned. This information is essential for you to know if you're considering owning camels, if you're a camel owner already, or you're caring for camels. So just so you know also that we have printouts and diagrams and infographics and pretty things like that for you to look at over at the blog link, which you'll find in the description wherever you're listening from. So also our podcasts are always recorded on farms, so you'll often hear roosters crowing and ducks quacking, dogs barking. You most likely will not hear the camels because they're pretty silent and they only usually call out when they see us with food. Also, right now you might hear kids as well because we're currently doing remote schooling due to lockdown. Okay, so let's dive into this topic of the worms in camels and what you need to know. So first off the bat, I need to say to you, if you've come here looking for a straight answer on worms in camels and what to drench them with and dewormers and all that sort of stuff, we don't have a straight answer for you. And anyone that gives you a straight answer to parasites in camels doesn't understand the science, which we learned the hard way. We'll get into more of that later. We're not here to pull the wool over your eyes. We want your camels or the camels in your care to have the best life possible with you. And this will involve learning new things to avoid painful mistakes. Being there, no fun at all. Luckily, we've been learning from the amazing Dr. Margie Bale, who is a dedicated camel vet. And since gaining knowledge of her accurate and very practical advice, we have changed our entire camel care structure. And honestly, we were surprised on how wrong we were getting some things. Insert crying face emoji. From us being camel owners to camel owner, you or the carer, let's talk about worms, aka parasites in camels. Again, if you missed the episode it's titled "What's Killing Domestic Camels," we suggest you listen to that too because that's got some really good information on what is killing domestic camels, which, spoiler alert, is mainly parasites. Now, the sad reality is that a camel's immune system isn't actually built or wired to equip and deal with parasites, also known as worms. Parasites, worms, similar thing. Not scientific language. That's the sad reality. And the other part to that also is some other large animals are more equipped and have a stronger immune system to deal with parasites. Not so much for camels. One of the most common mistakes and issues a new camel owner will make is that they leave their camel's health in the hands of, the camel. This would be okay if the camel was living in its perfect desert environment of origins, but let's face it, most domesticated camels are not found in a desert environment. We've got our hands up here. We live on the east coast in Australia. All this means that the camel will graze pastures unnatural to them and their biology, their makeup, what they were actually built to graze on. Maybe your camels are being fed grains, certainly not something they would eat out in the wild, and maybe they get handed hay and treats. Meanwhile, us owners and caretakers thinking that everything is fine and well and dandy because the camel looks healthy, in quotes, looks healthy. We've also been there. All this is based on our mistakes, basically. But here's the thing about camels. And I want you to burn this into your brain, tattoo it on your forehead or anywhere visible where you might see it, is I want you to remember this, is camels are survival animals. What does this mean? What does this have to do with worms and health issues? So because camels are survival animals, they will rarely show early signs of a parasite problem or any health problem for that matter, often until it's too late. As an example, an extremely heavy worm burden. They might not show signs of that until it's just a heavy worm burden. And this is the thing to remember too. Unless your camel has a see-through stomach, you cannot say for sure that your camel looks healthy just from the outside observation. We've also been there. It's like, oh, we're like, no, our camel looks healthy. Our camel's healthy. Look at it. It's like, yeah, so. Oh gosh, we've made all the mistakes. You know, the health of the camel actually all depends on the health of their pseudo-ruminant stomachs. Big word, pseudo-ruminant. Pseudo spelled P-S-E-U-D-O and then ruminant. Google it. It's quite interesting to read up on. So a camel has 3 stomachs. The signs that a camel has worms all depends on that camel. I know you just want a straight answer, but I would be absolutely fooling you if I gave you a straight answer to this whole topic. And I don't want to do that. I am not that person. I want you to get the most accurate, professional, scientific information available to you. And this is what we're offering today. This list that I'm about to go through could be a sign that your camel has worms. But the only way that you can truly know for a fact that your camel has worms is by testing. And a word of caution here, don't try to cut corners with this. You end up with deceased camels in the end, and I can tell you we learned that the very hard way. So here are some signs that your camel might have worms. Diarrhea, loss of appetite, grumpy and not like themselves. Remember that most camels aren't grumpy by nature. Visible worms in their poo, that's obvious. Hair loss, although this can be a skin condition too. Lying down a lot, like a worm burden in a camel does not make a camel feel great at all. Co-grazing with other species, especially sheep and goats. Blood/mucus in the poo, weight loss, liver disease, low milk yield for the milking camels, reproductive disorders, abdominal pain/colic, anemia, sudden death, which is the absolute worst symptom, and obviously it's too late then. And you know what? We get it. No camel owner or carer likes to think that their camel is unhealthy. We feel like, we've failed them. They are our fur babies after all. We've seen it time and time again. Camel owners will reach out to us in urgency saying that they have a very sick camel. This always concerns us when this happens because we know that if the camel is really sick now, then it's been sick for a long time. And 9 times out of 10, it's a parasite, in brackets, worm burden issue. But there is good news. And the good news is that you can now stop the guessing game of if your camel is actually healthy or not. One of the best routines we've recently implemented into our camel farm is monthly parasite testing and a very strict parasite control program that consists of something like the diagram that we actually came up that's on the blog post link associated to this podcast episode. Basically, it has you're gonna have to see it. It's a circular diagram, and it just explains kind of the routine of a parasite control program. So you can screenshot that and keep it on your phone or whatever. Did we wish that we started the parasite control program sooner? Hell yes. I can't even tell you how many camels that keep me up at night thinking, God, I think we really did the wrong thing by them not testing them for parasites, and they probably died from that. It's an awful, awful feeling, and I live with that guilt every single day. Is the parasite control program that we've implemented perfect all the time? No. Do we skip a month here and there? Do we skip monthly testing here and there due to life in us? Sometimes yes. Did we wish that we knew better years ago so that we can have better advised our students, like you guys, some of you guys listening? Yes. But you know what? It's better that we know now than we don't know at all. And as the quote goes, when you know better, you do better. So it's time to do better. And we're doing better. So how do you know if your camel has worms or parasites? Same thing. The only way to learn if your camel has a worm burden is to conduct a parasite test. This is the easiest, most accurate and simple way to find out if your camel has a worm burden. If you want to DIY your own parasite testing for your camel or camels, we suggest this if you've got a herd of camels, or your local vet can perform the test, or some local agriculture centres and universities will do it, sometimes free of charge, because it helps their reporting process and keep track of what's happening in their local areas. The only thing you've got to know about a parasite test, you've got to make sure it's the right test for camels. Again, yes, camels have a specific parasite test for them, not specific to camels, but they need a certain type of test that most vets know how to do, to pick up the worm burden. So also we have a printout on the test, in quotes, to use for testing camels for parasites, also in the show notes /blog link, wherever you're listening to this. You can print it out, give it to your vet or whatnot, do whatever you like with it. So the important thing here to remember is that it's not actually safe for camels to have even a small worm burden. Unlike cattle and horses and some other livestock, most vets actually assume that a small worm burden is okay for camels, and sometimes suggest to postpone deworming until it's a higher egg count to save on cost. The thing to remember is camels are desert animals. And the interesting thing is that if you remove a camel from their desert environment and test them for parasites, aka worms, they most likely will be worm-free, which proves the point on how well suited camels are to their natural desert environment, and how us camel owners who have domesticated the camels into different environments need to have a proper program in place. So, we, the camel owners, we bring a camel, which is a desert dwelling creature, into a domestic environment with green pastures, dry fodder, aka hay, grains, which are a no-no for camels, shall we say, for a camel's stomach. We keep them confined to a small area compared to what they are used to. Out in the wild, a camel will graze an area for a couple of days and they might not return to that area in 6 to 12 months' time. So you can see that when we domesticate our camels, put them in a confined space, we're going to have a parasite issue without a proper camel parasite control program and routine. Which comes to the conclusion, if you own or care for camels, then they must be on a parasite control program. What does a camel parasite control program entail? Some really simple steps in animal management. Remember, you signed up for this whole camel thing. So as a responsible camel owner, you're going to have to learn some new things, which we're sure you're already aware of because it's a constant learning curve with camels. So here's some 3 things that we can that a camel parasite control program entails. 1, get the know-how on how and why camels are prone to parasites, and in particular your camels, and get familiar with the parasites that are on your property. Take note, no one property is the same. That is why learning this information is so important to learn. So what Farmer Joe is doing next to you and what he says about what he's giving his camels and what, all that sort of stuff does not necessarily apply to you because that's not your property. And parasites live in the pastures. So there's a whole kind of complex system going on. Number 2 is to get the camels tested for parasites regularly, ideally every month, using the camel-specific parasite test. A normal float test will not cut the mustard. It will not pick up the worm count that you will need to pick up in order to know what's really going on in your camel. Again, we supply the proper testing printout in the associated link in the description wherever you're listening. And believe it or not, the next step isn't all about deworming. That actually comes after the important steps that we cover in the 3-part Camel Parasite Control Program series in our Camellier Academy membership. The thing is maybe you've landed here to get a straight answer on what to deworm your camel, or, just learn why your camel has worms. Unfortunately, And to be honest, and I don't want to pull the wool over your eyes, there is not one answer to this. Parasites are complex things, more so for camels. A veterinarian will spend a lot of their study time learning about parasites in animals. It's pretty incredible. So I was told by a veterinarian. We can't give you a straight answer on worms in camels and deworming camels because it's so different for every property. And I probably would insert there too every camel, because you've got camels that have higher resistance to worms than other camels. So you could have two camels in the same area. One's really struggling health-wise and the other one's thriving. This is the thing that we need to learn to manage as camel owners. And the thing is we can offer you the know-how and knowledge that you need. And I will say you need because once we learned it, we're like, holy moly, we got to switch things around here. You need this knowledge to keep your camels free from those pesky worms that can deteriorate a camel's health, sometimes quite severely to the point of death. Again, we've seen this so many times. Oh, it's very upsetting. We've currently opened our Camellier Academy membership to the general public. It used to be just available to students currently learning with us, but we're like, this information needs to get out there. It can't be exclusive to just our students. It has to be out there. So we switched things around a bit and we made our Camellier Academy membership, which is an online portal. It has a library of camel information, which includes a 3-part series on a camel parasite control program that I believe, and Dr. Margie Bale, who actually does the talks on this, has agreed that every camel owner needs to learn this, or anyone that cares for camels. If you're just enjoying them as pets and having someone else care for them on the ranch, then someone needs to learn this, whoever's caring for them. The great thing about when you join the membership, and I'm saying this from a point of not like, let's just sell some stuff, It's not that at all. It's like we want to help you. We want to make sure that you have the right information, the most accurate, professional, scientific information on how to care for your camel. Does that change over time? Yes, it can. That's what science is. It does change. New information comes about and it changes, and you always have access to that. But it's not just all sciencey stuff. We do make it very fun in the membership. We're always laughing and making jokes about, especially when we're talking about camel poo, of course, which parasites and poo go hand in hand. Also, let me tell you, in the membership, you not only get access to the three-part camel parasite control program, but also, we've got a library of Camel Vet talks, on camel nutrition and toxic plants and dewormers and, all that kind of stuff. It's just crazy the amount of information that's in there. It's only been open since September 2019. We also have Camel Vet procedures in their videos, tutorials. Russell and I do camel handling technique videos, camel psychology lessons, we upload the latest and greatest camel husbandry info, and of course the camel husbandry ebook is in there as well. And we've even got camel equipment making workshops because you can't go out to a shop and buy camel equipment. So we've put camel equipment making workshops in there as well. This is really just the tip of the iceberg on what we offer. And of course, a whole community of camel lovers, just like you, who want to do the right thing for and by their camel. Basically, our Camellier Academy membership is an online portal for camel owners and lovers and carers. It's the Camel Flix. Not Netflix, it's a Camel Flix for the camel lover. So we encourage you to become a member today. You can cancel your membership at any time and there'll be no hard feelings. We just want to get this information out there to you. You can start diving into this important information that you need to keep your camels worm-free, to keep them connected with you, to keep you up to date with how to learn how your camel thinks. Anyhow, you need to go check out. We're super excited to offer it. This is why I'm stumbling on my words, is you just need to go check it out. So you can head over to camelconnection.com/membership and you can check all that out. And I suggest you do, even if you just like, okay, you don't have to commit anything just by going to that link and checking it out. But again, like we've got that information for you guys out there so that you feel supported in your camel journey in all the ways, which is really super important to us. This is something we wanted many years ago when we made all the mistakes, and we've made the mistakes, and now you don't have to learn from those same mistakes. So lucky you. camelconnection.com/membership. Go and check it out. And we hope you found this Worms in Camels podcast episode helpful. Please, if you know of any other camel owner or person, camel lover that would benefit from this, send them the link or tell them about the podcast, because it's important that we get this good information out there. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Hey, just quickly, how would you like access to the full tutorial on this camel topic? Become a member of our Camellier Academy now, and you not only get access to this camel information, but a whole library of camel information. The Camellier Academy is an online portal for camel owners and camel lovers just like you, which consists of a library of camel information, including entertaining camel vet talks and procedures, camel handling techniques and camel psychology talks, access to the latest and greatest info on camel husbandry and well-being, even workshops on how to make your own camel equipment, and of course a forum to ask your camel questions to camel professionals. This is just a glimpse on what you'll get access to in the Camellier Academy. It's the camel flicks for the camel lover. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. Come join us, our resident camel vet, and a community of camel connectors worldwide over at CamellierAcademy.com. That's CAMELEER Academy.com.